2008 Mazda 3 thermostat replacement. I'm Brian Essick from How To Automotive. I'm going to walk you through the process for changing that out. Okay, to get to the thermostat, it's going to be right here underneath the belt tensioner and to the and just slightly above the alternator. I'm going to start by getting the front of the vehicle up in the air, at least high enough to slide a bucket to catch the coolant under. And there's two ways you can do this. You can do this with extensions, you know, a couple bolts from the top, and then there's a couple bolts below on the bottom side. So I got the new part here, and I'll show you what I mean. So this thermostat comes with the complete housing and everything, all as one unit. So you can go ahead and start by putting your coolant buckets under there and removing your upper hose and the hose that goes to the coolant reservoir here. That's this hose here. So go ahead and remove those. Clamp there and the clamp here and pull the hoses off. One of the best tools you can use to get those clamps off is a tool like this. It hooks over the end of the hose clamps, and then you just squeeze the handle on it, and it squeezes the clamps, and you can pull them off. Or you can use pliers. You can get in there with pliers too. There's enough room. So after getting the hoses off, and then you can go ahead and remove the top two bolts there. And then I'm going to use a little extension, and I'll show you my setup. So I got an 8mm socket and an extension, as you can see here, and there's enough room to get to it from up top. It's kind of blind. You have to do it by feel, or you can lift the vehicle up and look from underneath and get the bottom bolt. And then the top bolts you can see, and they're pretty easy. They're over here on top. So you can get that with an air ratchet and a little extension, no wobbles or anything required. And go ahead and remove the three bolts. So underneath it's going to have the 3 bolts. Actually, it's like this. So it's going to have 2 bolts on the top and 1 bolt on the bottom. Go ahead and remove those. Now that you got the thermostat out, one of the signs that the thermostat has gone bad is if you look and if you see the little the shiny mark, that's kind of where it's dragging on there, and that indicates that it was having an issue. So now what you need to do is just clean the block surface up. Use a rag, razor blade if there's any debris or whatever. And clean up the block. Try not to scrape on it too hard because it is aluminum. And then what you're going to do is just put your new thermostat housing on there and start the bolts, all 3 of the bolts, and tighten it down. So the way I got the thermostat back in there and started is I reached around with my hand over the and held the thermostat housing in place, and then I could use my fingers like this to kind of twist it left and right, and then use my right hand to start the bolt right here. And once you got one bolt started, then you can go ahead and start the other bolt. I recommend leaving it loose until all 3 bolts are started, and then tighten it down. A tip for getting the bolt started is to take your socket and stuff a piece of paper in it, and then stuff the bolt in it, and that way you can hold the bolt upside down, or you don't have to hold the socket and the bolt and everything all together. It'll hold itself together, and then you can slide it in there without worrying about the bolt falling off, and then you can start the bolt. So I also wanted to show you the view from underneath. So if there's the alternator just above the alternator, you can see the thermostat housing, and the bolt's not in there yet. So you can see it, so you can get to it from either top or bottom. Now that the thermostat housing is back on and bolted back up, go ahead and put your hoses on, but you want to inspect your hose clamps. These squeeze clamps, they do wear out after a while, so if you feel like they're not in good condition, I recommend replacing the clamps. So go ahead and put those back on, and we'll fill it back up with coolant. Now that you got the hoses back on the thermostat, you can fill it up with coolant. You're going to fill it up to the max line here, and you're going to start the car, and you're going to run it with the heater off, AC off, all that off, and then right down here. And then what I like to do is start the car up and take a reading of the upper hose here with my little pyrometer, and then start it and let it run. And then when the thermostat opens up, you'll see the temperature on the hose here increase, and you'll know when it'll be like a dramatic, like a 40-degree different, 50-degree different once the thermostat opens. And then what you do is you recheck your coolant level, and it may drop after the thermostat opens up. And then top it back off to the proper level, put your cap back on and test drive. And you also want to make sure that your cooling fans will run. It takes about 10 or 15 minutes for all this to happen. So you'll run it for about 10 or 15 minutes. You may want to increase the RPMs a little bit and then check the temperature here. And if you don't have a temperature gun like this, you can, if you're careful, you can reach down and you can feel the temperature difference with your hand. So you'll feel how cool it is, and then when the thermostat opens up, you'll feel the temperature dramatically increase. And then you'll just double check your coolant level and check your fan operations, and that'll complete the thermostat replacement on a 2008 Mazda 3. I'm Brian Essick from How To Automotive. I'd like to thank you guys for watching my videos, encourage you to subscribe, and remind you to check out the website howtoautomotive.com. Thank you.